You were saying how why are they getting in bed together? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think that the sort of like Muslim hardliners, a lot of the theocratic understanding that they have is based on the identity of Muslim, and so I think that's why the left has picked up Islam as the sort of religion of choice that they'll support, because it's a very strong identity. And they play identity politics with it. I mean, within Islam, you've got the identity of Muslim being separated from the identity of the kuffar and the dhimmis and who have to pay the jizya and all that.
I think it's also that it's a non-white religion.
Well, that's definitely how they see it as well. And they see Christianity as a white religion.
I think they see a lot of people see when you get these Westerners who don't really like the West.
Yeah.
I think they think of Christianity alongside all these other. They lump them all together: imperialism, Christianity.
It's a white religion to them.
Yeah, they think they often kind of group all these things together. So this was the colonizers' religion, sort of thing. Although, on a global perspective, that's not really true. But
most Christians aren't white.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I know, but that's how they.
But because they're local in majority white countries, they view it that's the case. But I think that the reason the intersectional left picked it up is because Islam, I think, has got the same kind of worldview with regards to the identity of Muslim, however you interpret that, and I think that's why they picked it up. But it's honestly, I'm loving watching them fall apart with this alliance now. It's like, go on, where are you going to go? We warned you.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. I mean, so I feel like I've talked about one side of the equation. So to address the other side, which is where people are, I believe, overly fearful of it, and you get the people who are like extremely anti-Islam, and that can easily cross over into anti-Muslim and whatnot. And I think that's equally ignorant, and it's not rooted in a place of understanding and tolerance and kindness and whatnot. I can, on both sides, it's like I can understand where they're coming from to a degree, but it's very much, like I said, it's very much separating the certain ideas from from people. So if someone's got certain ideas that are going to cause a problem, right? You've got someone who's like a super fundamentalist. That's I think everybody can agree that that's a problem. If it's someone who even has ideas and beliefs that you may personally, even strongly, vehemently disagree with, again, as long as they're not forcing that on other people, then you may think they're a bigot, you may think they're sexist, you may think they're whatever, but as long as they're not imposing that on you in a way that affects you in any way, then tolerance is people forget that tolerance is a two-way street. Yeah. People are really starting, and you get people say, oh, you shouldn't be tolerant of intolerance, but it's like, well, who defines what? I grew up in Saudi Arabia. What people consider hate speech there, what people consider blasphemy, what people consider acceptable and unacceptable, you won't want to play by them. A lot of those people, I'm like, you wouldn't want to play by those rules. Yeah. Right? So who's setting them? All right, you're not the grand moral arbiter of the world who can say that, okay, this is acceptable, that is not. This is, no one can draw those lines perfectly. It's the same thing when people ask, I know you're how did they describe you? Free speech extremist.
Yes.
Yes.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. So it's the same thing like that, right? If someone's like, oh, well, what about hate speech? And it's like, well, who is the person who determines what is acceptable and what is not? Because it's different to different people. I don't swear. I'm offended by, weirdly, I don't really mind profanity in music, but I don't actually like profanity in conversations. If I'm talking to someone and they're constantly swearing, I'm not gonna,
but it's personally.
But I don't really like it. I don't like people using. I'm a Christian. I don't really like people using God's name in vain. I don't really like people using Jesus' name in vain. But I'm not gonna, I may let them know if it's someone I know. I'll be like, I'd appreciate if you didn't keep doing that, But I'm not trying to have them arrested.
Yet, no.
I'm not trying to have them arrested for using a certain word. So it's a different thing.
See, I find all this really interesting because the thing with Islam, I find that the most vociferous opponents take the most extreme version to be Islam, actual Islam, regardless of what most Muslims actually do. And the worst part is, a lot of the time, it's our government that encourages that. They'll try and protect people from like for example, Boris Johnson calls Muslim women in abayas letterboxes. It's an offensive joke, but they always ignore the fact that in the column in which he wrote that, he was defending their right to wear those things, saying no, they should be able to dress as they want.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be free to criticize it. And the sort of the tolerant, politically correct crowd came out and castigated him for supporting their right to wear it because he did it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's wild.
A lot of those people don't have any principles. The principles and standards are what gets me slightly closer to my goal in the given moment. There's very little consistency.
Yeah.
It's just not, that's the problem. With me, I try to have certain principles and be consistent, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter who the person is. I mean, when you've been seeing some of these social media deplatformings and stuff like that, right? I've publicly said with a lot of these, even people I vehemently disagree with on certain issues, I'm like, no, they shouldn't be kicked off. They shouldn't be deplatformed. They shouldn't be censored. Because, unless they say something criminal or they incite violence or they're terrorists or something, then you've just got to let people speak. And to me, that's my principle. Yeah. Period. So it could be some far left activist who wants to have their genitalia waxed, as long as they don't cross criminal lines. Let them talk. Let them do their activism. I don't agree with them.
Well, yeah, but
I
that's
don't think
half
they
my
should be kicked
content.
off.
If they get kicked off, who am I going to criticize? I need these people to mock.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing that people don't get. So someone will get deplatformed, and you'll say, "Oh no, and they're like, "Oh, are you defending so and so?" And it's like, no, I'm defending the principle.
Yeah.
And people who don't have principles don't understand that, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing that you're getting when you've got people who are claiming to be anti-racist and then going on about how awful white people are or how awful white men are or whatever. And it's like, you don't have any consistent principles.
Okay, no. We've redefined the concept of racism.
It boggles my brain. It's kind of painful for me because I'm just like, you be consistent.
Yep.
If you're against racism, be against racism. And we all should be. Like, just be consistent here. And I've had that before. So I've had times when I've, say, on Twitter, I've publicly defended white people.
Wow.
Right? Either generally or an individual person. And then I get attacked for saying, "Oh, you're obviously a black white supremacist, or you're caping for white people." Yeah, that's the term. You're
is that the term? Is it?
Yeah,
right,
you're
okay.
caping, as in you're like a superhero. You're coming in to cape for them, or you're trying to.
Right,
and it's just like, no, like I don't care what.
Zuby, defender of white people.
Literally, I'm like, I will defend anyone who's being wronged. It doesn't matter, right? It can be a black lesbian. It can be a straight white male. It can be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just treat people fairly and decently and don't demonize them based on these random immutable characteristics. It's not hard. It's not hard.
So I understand you're a rapper, but I know nothing about rap music or the rap community or the internal politics of it. So would you like to tell me how your music's being received? Because I understand you have name-dropped Jordan Peterson in one of your songs.
I have. That's quickly become one of my best-known lyrics.
Oh, really?
So that's on my song Perseverance, which is off my latest album of the same name. So the lyric was, it's always hard for me to remember my lyrics unless I'm properly rapping. It was, "You're always talking evil in your raps, and I'm trying to put my meanings on the map. I gave you 12 rules for life and kept my room clean. I'm the Jordan Peterson of rap." Bucko. I had to throw the bucko in at the end. Yeah, so I am a fan of Jordan Peterson. I followed his work from, I want to say, early 2016, quite before he became this figure in the way that he has. But in terms of my music, firstly, my music is apolitical. My music is not, it's never been political. It's not. I think, as I get back to writing, I'm going to drop more social commentary in there because it seems like people...
that's an expressly political statement, though.
Yeah. Which one?
The Jordan Peterson one.
Well,
it shouldn't be, but it is now.
Maybe it is.
By the way they define the political landscape, when you say something like that, they react to that like it's a political statement. So
everything is made political. My deadlift tweet was interpreted politically. I mean, that had nothing to do with politics, but people took that as a political thing. So in terms of music, I mean, my music's always been well received by a lot of people. My real message in my music is actually about personal responsibility, self-empowerment. I'm independent. I've released 5 albums and 3 EPs completely independently, never been signed to a label, never had a manager, never had an agent. all my career I've built up myself. So I'm very much about, if you've got a dream, chase it. Whether you want to start a YouTube channel or a business or be a musician or whatever, go out there, chase your dream, do it. You'll have, difficulties and challenges, but overcome them and keep persevering. That's why I called my album Perseverance.
Right.
Because it's just, keep going.